Hey everybody, I'm CJ, the casually competitive player.
And I'm Nate. I'm competitively casual, and welcome back to the Four Cs podcast, a chill and chat about what's new in MTG. And oh boy, is there something new today! But before we get into that, I've got some chilling or pre-episode chilling to do. So find us at the following places: we're at the 4C podcast.buzzsprout.com and on Facebook.com at the 4Cs podcast. CJ, myself, and the podcast are all on Twitter. You can find me at NaderMark21, CJ's at _Darklands_, and the podcast itself is at the 4C Pod. You can also find us on places such as Spotify, iTunes Music. I forgot what Google calls theirs, but that one.
Pretty sure it's just like Google Podcasts or like Google Play Podcasts.
It's probably that. Find us where you listen to podcasts. We're there.
Soon to be YouTube, hopefully. We're working on it.
That's the background plan. We're working on it.
Yeah.
First couple things. How's everyone doing? Welcome back. It's been 2 weeks, and you're wondering, oh, what the heck was last week's episode? CJ, wanna jump in on that one?
Yeah, so me and Nate, when we record, we do the normal recording setup of OBS software and Discord. And somewhere, somehow, between OBS or Discord, whenever we would go to begin a sentence in the podcast, it would cut off like the first 5 to 6 seconds of every sentence we did. So it just turned into an unusable edit. And that's unfortunately something I can't catch until I start to do the edit in Audacity after we've already recorded. So I went to go do my normal edit and I'm like, well, this is weird. Edit the first one. And then like it just kept doing it. I'm just like, oh no, we have an unusable recording that I didn't catch until like Friday night. And I'm like, well, we're going to be recording Monday, potentially Tuesday. So I'll just wait until then.
Oh, let's just rip the band-aid off. It's usually Tuesdays.
Usually. Every other Monday, I'm usually busy.
And then we just never talk about it the other Monday.
Exactly.
So before we get into our lengthy and definitely intriguing topic, CJ, I believe you have our flavor text for us. And in fact, I'm looking at it because you shared it in Discord.
Yeah. So our flavor text comes from one of my like favorite artworks through Magic. It's from Mana War, which is 2 and a blue for a creature jellyfish. So I should give you a reason why I love this flavor text. It's a 2/2. But the flavor text is beauty to the eye does not always translate to the touch. And the artwork that I specifically showed Nate was from the starter 1999 artwork of this card. And it's just a giant jellyfish shocking the crap out of a shark.
Like this shark is getting messed up.
Yeah, the artwork on it is amazing. And the flavor text for it is just perfect.
Yeah. So hopefully, with what we just explained a little bit ago, those of you who are listening on YouTube now, hopefully, and if not, I'm going to look like a big dum dum, so I'm taking a shot here, can see as CJ posts the art for this Man of War. Or Man of War, not Man of War. He's a Man of War.
Man o' War.
Yes. And look at this art. Look at it.
Yeah, this art is amazing.
Hard agree. So the goal is to start like putting things like card arts when we're talking in regards to specific cards or maybe backgrounds or whatever we decide we're going to do. But we're going to
Nate,
start.
why is that a good idea to start on this episode?
That's a very good question. So that involves our topic for today, in which we're going to talk about a lot of very specific cards. Because in like the scrapped recording at the end, where I mentioned that we're coming up with these topics on our own, instead of just doing things like banned and restricted announcements every week, hey, guess what? We have a banned and restricted announcement this week.
We have like the mother of all banner restricted announcements. This is probably one of the biggest I've seen in like a lot of years.
This was almost an entire. Okay, we're missing 2 formats from like 3 if you want to count Commander. From being an entire like format wide ban everywhere.
Yeah, an entire tournament format wide.
Yeah. Or saying what, standard and popper?
Standard and Pauper are the only ones that are technically tournament like regulated formats that aren't on this. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And we
But
have a
it is,
rules change. So we have formats and rules changes.
yeah, this is legitimately the mother load. Before we get into it, so Wizards actually did kind of something intriguing with this particular ban and restricted announcement. I don't know how much you were paying attention, but last week they preemptively called out that they were going to be banning Uro.
So I wanted to talk about that real quick. I like that they were like, hey, we're gonna ban Uro. I don't like why they spoiled that they're gonna ban Uro. It was because they're like, we're making a secret lair that includes Uro. And we want you to still spend your money on this, even though this card is basically irrelevant at this point. So just so you know ahead of time, before you buy this, we're banning Uro. Like, I don't know, Wizards that was kind of a weird thing to me.
I mean, Commander playable?
Yeah, definitely. But it was just weird that they like dropped like 6 different secret layers, and then there's like, oh, by the way, Uro's getting banned along with some other cards.
Yeah. And boy, were there some other cards.
I was expecting like one or two. Like, how many were you expecting when they said Uro was getting banned?
I expected Ur to get banned as like wherever he really could or wherever it mattered, and then like maybe like 2 to 3 other cards total.
Yeah, so if you guys haven't
No,
seen this, it's crazy, and not including, so not counting Earl all the times that he is banned because he's banned across 3 different formats. There are also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, still going, 10, 11, 12, 12 other cards got banned. One card got unbanned, and a rule got changed. All in this one announcement. Like this is a magic shakeup right here.
Magic is going to be a healthy game again. So says Wizards.
Wizards is like, remember the last 3 years? Yeah, we're fixing it.
I'm just gonna. Okay, we're gonna go back to like right before Eldraine. Right before. Okay, a little bit farther too. We're gonna because there's a card for more of the Spark too, but right before Eldraine.
Yeah. There's a card from guilds in here. Or it's either guilds or it's one of those, whichever one, guilds and the other one. Wilderness Wreck.
Oh yeah, that's Wilderness Wreck is, oh my gosh, it is a stupid card. It's from Ravnica Legion. It's not.
And technically, if you want to get like nitty gritty technical, there is a card from Return to Ravnica or Gate Crash, one of those.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot to go into this one. Like, this is, my head is still trying to wrap around the fact that this many cards got banned all at once. I would like to do a little side note that I want to say this ban restricted was all kicked off because of Tybalt. Tybalt broke the bans.
Well, it wasn't Tybalt alone. It was Tybalt plus his friend Uro.
It was Tybalt and Wizard's bad decision. Oh man. So
All right, so
yeah,
hey,
where do you want to jump into this?
look at that sync. We're on page. I think we start with historic. I think that's the easiest place to start.
Yeah, because me and you don't know much on historic.
I do a little bit now. I've kind of watched some like stuff on it.
Well, no, bad Nate.
I like Magic. What do you want from me?
I know, right?
Okay, so starting historic. Step 1, Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath. Get him out of here. Second, we have Omnath, Locus of Creation, also known as 4-color Omnath. Get him out of here. So those are 2 bans. Now, Wizards kind of goes over it. So they kind of give us the same spiel about Uro everywhere. Uro good.
Earl, real good.
Uro do a lot of things for a lot little, then redo the same thing for slightly more than little, then provide 6/6 body.
Yeah, and give card advantage.
Card advantage, life gain, land ramp.
Yeah, Earl just does a lot, the decks that were playing Uro were the most played in Historic, which traditionally looking at formats, if one deck becomes a high percentage of the meta and becomes like the most played deck, something's getting banned out of that, usually pretty quickly. So Wizards saw this and they're like, this card is just too powerful and we don't like it. So to increase diversity of the meta, we're taking Uro out, which I think is cool because usually they suspend or like, yeah, they suspend cards in Historic, but he went straight to the ban hammer.
Speaking of cards suspended in the format, the other card being Omnath, Locus of Creation. As Wizard states, so now that we've gotten rid of Uro, Omnath we realized would just make it so all the decks would go from Uro decks to Omnath decks. So we're just gonna nip that in the bud real quick.
So I'm very glad that Wizards realized their mistake and didn't recreate Standard at the beginning of when Zendikar Rising dropped when it was Uro Omnath dominating.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, if you take out Uro, just slot in Omnath.
It's the same deck.
Yep, it's the same deck plus one more color usually because, yeah, why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Good on you, Wizards. I'm proud of you.
I am proud of them for taking the quick step ahead and be like, no, we're just gonna not allow this to happen.
We're not gonna go through this again. Like we learn from our mistakes. So yeah, that was Historic. Should be a more healthy format. I know people hated the Sultai matchups, which usually had Uro, and well, now it's gonna be kind of interesting to see where the deck changes to. Like, I know Historic still has goblins. They still have like
not Just Guy Ascendancy.
yeah. They still have a bunch of cards. Um, a lot of cool decks that were kind of being overshadowed by Sultai. Like if you saw black or blue together, you're usually playing against the Sultai deck.
Yeah.
So it'll be cool to see how the metagame kind of shapes up, and me and you will be keeping an eye on pretty much all of these formats. We're probably gonna be playing a bunch of them now.
Yeah, this next one, I'm gonna go just in order of the list at this point. I think.
Yeah.
The next format, I hope I can get back into. I'd be intrigued in getting back into it, and this banning definitely seems like it'll make the transition a little bit easier.
Yeah, I'm excited for this next format banning.
All right, well then let's jump right into it. So the next format we're going to talk about is Pioneer. Step 1, Uro, Titan of his Nature's Wrath. Get him out of here! All right, but we've got 4 other cards besides Uro that got banned in this format with his announcement. So that's a good number of cards. Next, we have, looks like Balustrade Spy. I actually have no idea what this card does.
So Balustrade Spy basically says when he comes in, you flip your entire library into your graveyard.
Refuse cards from top of your library until she reveals a land. Oh, and because we have all
they run MDFCs. It's an Oops All Spells deck.
Oh, cool.
So they flip cards from the top of their library into their graveyard because obviously they don't have any lands. And then recurring with like Vengevines and Scrap Metal Titan or something like that. Basically gets a bunch of like recurring creatures when they hit the graveyard to come back, and then they get swing out for lethal usually on the same turn.
Oh, I was picturing it also being like a weird blue-black deck with Thassa's Oracle again.
Some do that, but it's a lot easier just to put 4 Vengevines on. But that's modern. I don't think they're actually Pioneer legal. So yeah, this one's a Thassa's Oracle deck.
Mm-hmm. Because just flip my entire and Thassa's Oracle and I win. Congratulations.
Yep. Yeah, so Balustrade Spy and Undercity Informer are in the same deck. So they're banned out of the same deck.
Oh, Undercity Informer. Hey, what does this one do?
Same thing.
Until she reveals a land with the rest of the graveyard. Oh, that's cool.
Same thing.
Yeah, it's exactly the same thing.
So they literally just shot this combo deck down. They're just like, no, this is not fun.
Hey,
which I'm glad that they did because I like Oops All Spells in Legacy, but there's a lot more ways to interact with their Legacy than there are in Pioneer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they also shot a way to kind of stop it a little. Well, not really a combo stopper in general. Because also in Pioneer, we got another card that you're probably happy to see get banned.
Yep.
Teferi Time Ravelers just got banned in Pioneer as well. You know, 3-drop baby Teferi says you can only play on your turn, you goof. This is my turn to play Magic. +1, I get to play on your turn. And -3, bounce a thing, draw a card. Because card advantage.
Because why not?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not unhappy to see him go.
You mean you're like extremely happy to see him go?
Not unhappy. But he would usually slot into the same deck that Earl went into, usually a Bant or like a Sultai strategy almost.
Mm-hmm. And so, like, I wonder if with him gone now, this will create some like more weird like combo decks that can happen.
I don't know if it's gonna be weird combo decks, but it's definitely gonna be more healthy. Because we said before when he got banned in like standard and all that, the biggest complaint was to him was that usually if Teferi hit the board and you answer him, you were just playing a one-sided game where you could only play your deck half the time you could normally. So like it's just all around like healthiness of a game. It's just better without Teferi. That static ability was just too like toxic, I guess.
You mean making it so your opponent can't play the game of Magic is a bad thing?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
When Storm's not involved.
When Storm or looks at Stasis or looks at Cascade or looks at...
Why are you hitting all the cards that I like to play, Nate?
That's why I like to play Teferi.
I'm playing Teferi, I just use Stasis. It's fine.
That's fine. Speaking of Stasis and untapping lands...
Oh, I'm sad to see this one go.
I'm kind of not.
I
this
am.
card is dumb.
I love this card.
This card is so underly simple. It's dumb, and I hate it. So Wilderness Reclamation is also banned in Pioneer. 3 and a green for an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, untap all lands you control.
I'm sad to see this one go because, as we all know, I joined the enemy and played this deck to its fullest before it rotated out of standard. I love this card. It's such a fun thing, but it's not fun to play against.
I'd rather built the actual paper Pioneer deck.
Nice.
And now he's got to tear it apart because, oh look, now he can't play the Uros in it. Now he can't play the Wilderness Reclamations in it.
Kevin, I feel for you, but this card is not fun to play against at all. Like, it's fun to play with. It sucks to play against. It's just like you're playing against a control, like a mid-range to control deck. That's just like, I can play all my spells on both our turns for no cost.
Oh, and did you know that this Wilderness Reclamation trigger lets me get infinite mana on my end step?
Yeah, it's awkward.
Cast Expansion Explosion, doing like 50 damage to you and drawing 50 cards. Okay.
Living the dream. I love it. But yeah, these 3 cards right here are all usually their own deck. So like we're just like, no, these are all toxic cards. Like we just need to get them out. And I'm glad they are because like me and you have talked about Pioneer before. It wasn't healthy when you had the
Inverter of Truth deck.
Inverter decks, the like the legendary Kethis deck, the Heliod decks, like it wasn't healthy. And then they're like MDFCs, and they're like, oops, all spells deck. And it's like, nope, not healthy. And then they're like, Uro, not healthy. I'm glad that they're trying to keep Pioneer healthy.
Yeah. Even though there's like not a really good way to play Pioneer right now.
Right.
I mean, Moto, yes.
Yeah. But when things open back up, like I would be excited to play Pioneer at this point. Like these were very toxic cards that they got out of the way.
So, speaking of toxic, I think it's time to move on to our next format.
I think this is the one that I'm most excited about.
I completely agree. All right, so we're gonna move on to Modern next. As with all of like everything we say today, actually this is the last one. Step 1, Uro Titan of Nature's Wrath. Get him out of here. But we have 4 other cards as well banned in this format, and Whew, these are some pretty spicy cards. So, three of them are like newer cards, and one of them is actually an older card. And I think this is hilarious. So, I actually would like to start with the older card first.
Yeah, I have a lot to say on this one.
Okay. So, Simeon Spirit Guide is banned in Modern.
uh, the Mana Monkey is banned finally. It's so Simian Spirit Guy has been around since Future Sight, I believe. I believe that's where he
Yes.
first showed up.
Yep.
It's taken them this long to ban him after all the other free mana spells have been banned. Simian Spirit Guy has been the last warrior holding that banner, and he's finally been banned.
Yeah. So I actually played Modern for about 2 hours straight this last weekend with someone. We
Oh,
played the exact
lucky.
same. Yeah, I agree. It was a lot of fun. We played the same two decks for like 2 hours straight, and he was playing Free One Eldrazi, and I was playing Burn because that's what I had on me at the time. Uh, and how many games he went turn one land, Exile Simian Spirit Guide, Chalice of the Void on one.
Gross.
I won some of those games still. Let's to be fair,
Proud of you.
but it's super obnoxious. And I will touch back on Simian Spirit Guide on one particular topic in a little bit later. But so this card, I don't know if any of our other listeners follow people on Twitter, particularly Saffron Olive of MTG Goldfish aficionado. He posted a tweet recently, and I completely agree with the statement that he said. There are two types of cards. There are old cards which generate free mana, and there are new cards that have way too many lines of text.
Yep.
Simian Spirit Guide definitely falls on the old path, get you free mana. And I'll just jump into it. So, why this is important is that Simian Spirit Guide was enabling people to get Blood Moons out extremely quickly, like sometimes even turn one if they have two, or like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
And Blood Moon was shutting down the Uro decks. But now that people have them and Uro would be banned, people would just be playing Blood Moon to shut down everyone else on turn one. And then the format would be toxic.
Yeah. I mean, Simian Spirit Guide was never a fair card. It was never played as a fair card. You never played Simian Spirit Guide as a 2-2 if you didn't have to. Now, there was times where he did, he used him as a beater. But he was called the Mana Monkey for a reason, because you just exile him, add a red. I remember when I played Griselbrand, the Degenerate Reanimator combo deck in Modern, and there's times where I was just like, play a land, exile Simian Spirit Guide, make a red, Faithless Looting, throw Griselbrand in there, and like Goryo's Vengeance back a Griselbrand on like turn one. Like, Wizards has always taken a hard stance against free mana. Now they do that, but they still print cards that give us free mana. So it's a weird conundrum that Wizards does. But they've usually taken a hard stance. Anything that produced more mana than what it cost, or produced more mana for not costing anything. So like a Mox Opal, Seething Song, now Simian Spirit Guide, anything that produced mana too quickly and broke like the one land equals one mana count, they usually took a stance against. And Simian Spirit Guide, like I said, was like the last warrior of this. But I'm glad to see him go. It in a vacuum, Simian Spirit Guide would just enable two main degenerate combo decks that were already good, like Griselbrand, but they would also just hurt decks that were trying to play fairly, like your control deck, stuff like that. Like you said, you just ramp out a Blood Moon one turn earlier, or like a Chalice of Void one turn earlier with this. Like, the decks that those cards are good against are usually the ones that are playing fairly. And Wizards doesn't like to hate on fair cards with because they're playing, like, the decks that they're playing against are playing unfair cards like Simian Spirit Guide. So I'm not surprised he's gone. I'm going to miss the Mana Monkey, but good call in my book.
You've served well, Mana Monkey. You've served well.
You can take a break now, Simian Spirit Guide. You've been a good monkey. So,
Was I a good monkey? Yes. You were the best.
you were the best monkey. So, Simian Spirit Guide clears up unfair combo decks. What else we got in Modern? Because it's still spicy.
Yeah. Oh, we still got a lot of spicy left. Let's go to the lands, I guess. We have 2 land bannings in Modern. One of them from, I think, Core 19, and one of them from Core 20, sorry, and one of them from Broken of Eldraine, the place Uros from Okos from. So let's talk that one first. So we have Mystic Sanctuary as banned, and this card isn't broken. Mystic Sanctuary enters battlefield tapped unless you control 3 more islands. What a downfall! When Mystic Sanctuary enters the battlefield untapped, you may put target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard on top of your library. Oh, that's fine. Hey, have you ever heard of this card Cryptic Command?
Yes.
Did you know Cryptic Command has a mode that says bounce target permanent?
I did after this card came into effect.
Oh, look. Cryptic Command. Do thing. Do whatever I needed it to do the first time. Play Mystic Sanctuary. Put Cryptic Command on top of my deck. Oh look, draw Cryptic Command. Okay, now Cryptic Command. Bounce my Mystic Sanctuary. Do whatever I need to do to you. Play Mystic Sanctuary. Put Cryptic Command on top of my deck. Repeat ad nauseum. No, not the deck.
Yeah. I am so glad this card is gone because I am so tired of exactly what you just said and getting Cryptic hard locked out of the game. Like, it's just not fun. And if you remember from a couple moons ago when we talked about the banning that, like, really irritated me, one of the bannings happened in Modern, and it was Arcum's Astrolabe. And I said either Uro or Mystic Sanctuary should go with it because they need to go farther in Modern because those 2 cards are a problem. Well, here's the farther. We're finally there.
It only took, half a year?
Yeah. They got rid of Arcum's Astrolabe. Now they're getting rid of Uro and Mystic Sanctuary. And yeah, oh man. I'm so happy not to get Cryptic locked. Like, I don't like control. I don't mind control. I don't like getting hard locked out of the game where I literally can't do anything because it's either I play something and it doesn't matter and they let it resolve, or I play something that does matter and they're just like, nah, Cryptic Command, bounce my Mystic Sanctuary, replay Mystic Sanctuary, get my Cryptic back. It's like, you just auto scoop at that point because they're like, it's just not worth it. Like, it just, such zero fun games came with this card.
You literally just undid everything that I worked for and then got it back to do it again.
Yeah. I'm glad this card is dead and gone.
Wait, what was that? Can you repeat that sentence?
Mystic Sanctuary is dead and gone.
Mystic Sanctuary is Field of the Dead and gone. Because Field of the Dead is the next card that's banned on our list. Nailed it.
Why is this card bad? You just make 20 zombies after, casting Escape Shift. It's not that bad.
Yeah, Escape Shift. Get this into play. Put Valakut, Field of the Dead, and a bunch of, random mountains into play. Random mountains that are dual lanes, so they have different names. Oh, look, now I have, 10 zombies, and I'm bolting you for, 30. Darn it.
It's not bad.
How can I ever win this game of Magic?
Just blow up my lands.
Yeah. Just... So this seems like the most innocuous ban of them all, but I'm really happy that it exists because it's one of those cards that'll just keep sliding under the radar if they don't ever catch it. I'm glad they caught it because, like you just said, oh look, you just Field of the Dead in off of a Primeval Titan or Escape Shift, and then suddenly, oh look, I stopped the Primeval Titan from doing stuff. Cool. What about the Field of Dead that's just making 7 zombies a turn? And you're just like, Oh, can't do nothing about that, and then you die.
So this is the ban that surprised me the most, and it's because this card was used the most fair. And I put fair in quotation marks, but like usually it was pretty fair. You counted to 7, you started making zombies, and then it got unfair. But I understand why this card needed to be banned too, because like it's an attrition game, Magic is, and this is a very good engine where like your opponent's deck can just peter out because it runs out of spells, but like your deck is all spells that make this engine run perfectly, where even your lands become spells. Like this was a just grindy engine that was fair for the most part, but it just was like there were points in games where Field of the Dead was just unbeatable, and again, it just led to not fun Magic when you got to that point and your opponent's like, "Yep, play a land, make a zombie. Play a land, make a zombie. Oh, play 2 lands, make 2 zombies." And it's like, oh, great.
I Yeah, like this deck, like you're saying, it can be played fairly, but then there's modern, and they're just like, right, but we have a lot wider card selection. You just break it. Something as simple as a land is this broken.
Yeah, and like even Wizard said, both lands create repetitive and non-interactive game states in the late game for relatively low deck building cost. One hard locks the game, and one just turns all of your lands into spells, which just makes a very non-interactive and boring game after a while.
Speaking of things that I find boring, except for the part where the card name is on there, how do you feel about Debalt's trickery?
I think this card is great.
I do think the card is okay, but I hate the idea of this just being the deck.
Yeah. Oops, I got an Emrakul on turn 2. Like,
Whoops, my
whoops,
bad.
my bad. Annihilator 6, deal with it.
Oh, and
So,
I'm going to take an extra turn.
yeah. This was played. This was not played fairly. This card was broken and needed to be banned. Like, this deck was not fair.
How did this card get past R&D?
Right? How did this card get past R&D? Well, here's the thing. They said you could choose a player without
Why?
thinking that, oh, hey, we could, use this card to choose ourselves and only put an Emrakul in our deck.
Arena has a thing that tells you to not counter your own spell, but you could click no. I want to do it anyway. So why would the players ever do that? Why would you want to counter your own spell? It's not like you can get like an Ugin or an Emrakul or an Ulamog.
This was such a mistake that R&D missed, and it's so amazing that this is what happened. This ban is also one that surprised me the most because it only got banned in Modern. Like, I'm surprised by that.
Yeah, you can still do this in what Pioneer. You can still do this in Standard. Standard and Pioneer both hit what Ulamog or not Ulamog.
Ujin,
Ugin right now. Yeah, Ugin right now.
you could do this in Legacy. Like, okay, granted, Legacy little more fair because they have Force of Will, but still, like, only getting this in Modern, I feel like is gonna be a problem very soon.
Soon it is a problem.
Yeah, they get Ujin, they get Chromatic Ori, like, it's
Oh,
fine. Good stuff.
it's fine, they said. It'll be okay, they said.
Oh man, if anyone wants to argue on this banning, you're just wrong. This card needed to be banned. But I feel like it needs to be banned in more than just modern. Oh, R&D. This was such a fun like card for the last 3 weeks it's been around.
Okay, so I want to take a quick side tour because Tybalt's trickery in modern specifically ties into the additional addendum that was added onto this ban and restricted announcement. Like this is where it plays in the most. So, Cascade is an ability that's on a card. On cards, it exists, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Tybalt's trickery basically lets you just do the same thing as cascading.
Yeah.
So, uh, people were cascading into triggering or triggering and cascading. They were using them interchangeably to get the end result of putting what was it? Was it Valky and Tybalt into play?
Yeah, it was the Planeswalker side. So Tybalt, Clever Imposter, like whatever his Planeswalker side was.
Yeah, it's Tybalt, Clever Imposter, with his front side being Valky, God of Lies, or something like that.
Right.
So there is an addition to this change that we mentioned earlier. There was an actual rule change to Magic the Gathering. They changed the way Cascade works, and I am a big fan of this because it's going to stop this BS from happening. So, long story short, I'm going to give an example because it's going to help me explain this, and it's the exact same example they kind of give here. So, I cast Bloodbraid Elf, 4 mana CMC spell, Cascade. All right. When I use the Cascade ability, I have a check. I check the CMC of the spell I just use that has Cascade. Bloodbraid Elf, CMC 4. So I need to hit something with CMC 4 less, so 3 or less. Blah, 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 blah. Go into my card. Let's say this card is a dual or MDFC. Now, before, I could just put whatever card I wanted into play. It didn't matter. I checked the front face. Oh, the front face is 2. Cool, I'm going to play the backside. This is an 8-drop. Tybalt. Seems good. Now, they've put an additional check in the game. So I cascade with Bloodbraid Elf, so I checked for less than 4. I hit Valky. Valky is 2. I now check Valky. Valky's side is 2. Tybalt's side is 8. One of these is still less than 4. That's the side I can cast.
Yeah. So
That makes sense?
yeah. So basically, Wizards just put an additional check in there that says if a card has 2 sides, you can only cast the side that has a lesser converted mana cost. Instead of you could cast both sides if only one of them had a lesser converted mana cost, or either side.
Yeah. And then this also works for the Eldraine half cards. So they mentioned specifically, again, Bloodbraid Elf. Bloodbraid Elf into Fae of Wishes. Fae of Wishes is a 2-drop creature, or 3-drop creature, or something like that. But its casting magic-y wizard spell card is granted, which is like a 4-drop. So you can only do one of those.
Yeah.
Except you can't do the 4-drop one.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing as when they changed up the ruling for Cascade on the split cards. When Kari Zev's expertise could flip a card that was split in half or something like that. You could only cast one of the halves if one of them was a lesser convert mana cost. It was a confusing time in Magic. But I like this because, one, they didn't change up Cascade that much to where you could still play Living End because that has a lesser convert mana cost because that's a mana cost of 0. And also, they didn't change up how MDFCs work, which I think work awesome. And just because one card that's an MDFC is hurting a format, they shouldn't just automatically assume all MDFCs are bad.
Yeah, the way they've set this and they've worded this, I think is just right to make it so Cascade stuff is still playable, MDFCs are still playable. Just doing the trick where I'm just gonna put an 8-drop into play for 2 mana.
Yeah, I like this change, and I think it's the simplest change that creates the most impact with the least amount of intrusion into how the mechanic works.
All right, I think that's our Cascade sub tirade.
Bye bye, Tybalt's trickery. No one's gonna miss you.
I mean, hey, we have a card with Tybalt in the name that's banned finally.
Because Tybalt is amazing.
He did it.
Now we'll have to see how Valky does.
Mm-hmm. I think that covers all of us from everything from Modern. So we get to move on away from the Uro pile.
Mm-hmm.
So, Legacy?
Legacy, one of Magic's oldest formats.
Uro, Titan of Nature's Wrath, is...
Not
I think
banned.
it was already banned. Not banned. It's still there. But you know who did get banned instead? It's a blue-green card?
Finally.
Oko, Thief of Crowns. Get him out of there.
Finally.
alongside another blue green menace, two other cards are banned, and we'll get to those in just a moment. So let's talk about Uro's blue green predecessor. Let's talk Oko.
Yeah, Oko. He was a jerk.
Was is
Is.
how do I describe how obnoxious Oko is?
Well, all your crap gets turned into an elk. It's not
That that is,
cool.
that is true. Oh wait. So it get turned into an elk. Oh, that's like his removal on him. That's got to be a minus ability, right?
Nope. No, his minus ability switches your crap.
Oh, so his plus is his defense and he gets a minus, right? And then he's got no ultimate. He's got an ultimate, right? No. So,
No.
yeah, exactly.
You poor
This card,
child. You haven't played with Oko.
no, this card is dumb.
Yeah, no. Oko has been banned over all the formats except Legacy. Kind of like Uro right now. But Legacy, he's still a menace. He's always going to be a menace. Just get him out of here.
Now he's just gonna go terrify vintage somehow.
Nah. Let's not. But I like
I don't
that.
think.
I like that Wizards is like Uro power level is okay in Legacy because they can check them. Oko, no. And Uro and Oko cannot coexist because it would be too dominant. So we have to get rid of one of them or get rid of Oko.
Okay, I'm picturing us being back here in 6 months, and I'm picturing Uro being banned on the legacy list.
I'm pretty sure we said that when Oko got his Oh no, we weren't doing anything when Oko got his bans. But yeah, no, I can see it. They're just like, hey, by the way, Uro, yeah, still a problem.
Is that the problem? We should have fixed this a while ago. Why didn't we do it?
Because Wizards.
So, Oko, being a problem, had his own deck called Snoko,
Ugh.
which A, makes me think of a gas company, and B, is just an awful name. But speaking of snow permits that are just awful, how about Arkham's Astrolabe? That's a card, right?
I am so. This was the band I was happiest for because I'm glad to see this card gone because this card has been a problem since it was created in Modern Horizons. Like a card that should have gotten past R&D is this, and it's finally gone.
One mana draw card, but it's got to be a snow mana, right? One mana draw card because there's no downside to playing snow mana, and then it just fixes whatever that one mana is. Oh, I've got a snow mountain, but I need a swamp. Well, guess what? You solved your problem, Bucko.
Yeah, four color snow in Legacy was such a nuisance. Like this card, Oko, Uro, ugh, it was not fun, and it was
Yeah,
dominant. Like it was a huge part of the Legacy metagame.
yeah. Well, it's so good because it also just like helps you, like, A, because you need snowlands to play. Most of them are basics, which then helps you get around like other things like that are bad for you, like Blood Moon and Wasteland.
Yeah, yeah, and they even said that like Arkham's Astrolabe allowed mana bases to have both high color flexibility, so they could play four colors with relative ease, and high resilience to mana denial. That's a unique and important part of Legacy's metagame. Like they're pretty resilient to the Wasteland, Blood Moons, Back to Basics, stuff like that. Like Arkham's Astrolabe just did way too much for way too little of a cost, and it got banned in Modern for that exact reason. Now it's
And it
banned
got
in
banned in
Legacy.
Pauper for that same reason.
Yeah, this card was a problem. Like this is everyone said that Hogak was like the worst thing to come out of Modern Horizons. No, Arkham's Astrolabe was. Like I am glad this card is gone. I hate this card.
Hey, you can still play in Commander.
Have fun.
No, no, thank you. I mean, it's literally just like playing a free slot in Commander. Like, oh, I just want to play a 98 card deck. Okay, just run Snow Basics, and then your 99th card can be Arkham's Astrolabe. Congratulations, you've lost nothing of value.
Yeah. Yeah, this card needed to go. It needed to go a while ago. And I was surprised when they did the ban in Modern on this card that they didn't do it in Legacy, but here we are, 6 months later.
All right. Speaking of cards that I just find kind of enjoyable, that I'm actually surprised to see specifically in this format getting banned. We have Dreadhorde Arcanist, or Dreadhorde Arcanist, Dreadhorde Wizard Dude. One in a red, 1/3 trample. Says when Dreadhorde Arcanist attacks, cast an instant sorcery card with CMC less than Dreadhorde Arcanist power from your graveyard without paying its mana cost, exile. So you get the flashback, spells for free. Oh, look, his power is 1. Do you know there are a lot of good 1-drops in Magic?
Especially in Legacy.
Thoughtseize, Brainstorm,
Ponder, Preordain.
Ponder, Preordain, Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah. Bolt.
Path, or not Path, Path, I guess.
Yeah.
Push, I was thinking Fatal Push.
Yeah, this card was played in Temur Delver, and basically, Temur Delver could be kept in check with Oko, where Oko would just be like, cool, sweet, have fun with your Dreadhorde Arcanist. That's now Dreadhorde Alchemist. Yeah, without Oko, basically, they're like, Dreadhorde will probably get too strong, so we're just going to kind of be preemptive on this one and cut it out now. Which, that's cool. Dreadhorde was a nice addition to Temur Delver, but Temur Delver has survived without it before, and I'm sure still will.
They'll just revert back to where they were before, or adapt even further.
Yeah, gonna play my Hooting Mandrills. Woo!
Woo!
I like Temur Delver. It's a fun deck. Nibble
like
Mongoose, Hooting Mandrills. It's awesome.
I like Delver decks in general.
Oh yeah, Delver decks are so much fun because like they can either be a control deck, or they can be a tempo deck, they can be a mid-range deck. Like you don't really know what you're getting with the Delver deck when you first sit at the table with it. Then they cast a Force Will, and you're like, I see where we're going with this one.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry. I wanted to play Magic.
My bad. I wanted to burn your face, not just be told no. But okay.
Speaking of being told no and gatekeeped out of a format.
Yeah?
Well, I was going to segue into Vintage, but...
doesn't have anything to do with our Vintage.
I mean, I'm gatekeeped out of Vintage. How dare all these people with all this money keep from playing a format?
I like the price points are gatekeep. That's everyone's gatekeep, Nate. Look at the magic. Lurrus is unbanned in Vintage.
We have an unbanning. Hooray!
If you remember a while back, companions were stupid when they first came out. And Wizards was like, oops, our bad. We're going to ban these cards because Lurrus was breaking Vintage, which has not happened. Vintage hasn't been broken in a while. It's hard to break a broken format. Lurrus did it. Shortly thereafter, the banning, Lurrus and all the companions got the companion change, where now you have to pay 3 to put them from the companion zone into your hand before you can actually cast them. So, hopefully, with that companion change, Lurrus is good to play in Vintage now. We'll see. He may just be still broken because, Black Lurrus, pay 3. Oh, Lurrus.
3 mana.
Awkward.
Crack Black Lotus for black. Play Lurrus. Play Black Lotus from Graveyard.
Yeah. We'll see how this one goes. I'm going to put an asterisk next to it and see what happens. I'm not sure.
Similar to Earl being banned in Legacy later, we'll be back.
So I do love their reasoning. And Wizards, we've talked about, Wizards has a spot for Vintage where they're like, hey, we want Vintage to be pure. We want you to be able to play whatever you want to in Vintage. We don't want banned cards. We will restrict them, but you'll still be able to play at least one of them. Well, they couldn't do that with companions, so they banned Lurrus. But because they changed the companion rule, they're like, Lurrus is good now. And they even said, a key aspect of the spirit of Vintage is that we'd like as much Magic's card library to be as valuable as possible. So we're running the experiment of unbanning Lurrus. They're not saying he's 100% good to be played in Vintage because of the companion ban. They're just saying we're going to experiment and see if he's good because we want Vintage to be able to play all the cards available to them. And I like that. I like that they're trying to keep vintage pure.
Pure format.
Yeah. But I also like that in the next sentence there's like, but we'll be keeping an eye on what this does to the metagame and are willing to revert this change if needed. Basically saying, hey, Loris, if you're still broken, you're done.
All right,
So good on you, Vit.
we're gonna let you. We're gonna we're gonna put you on parole, see how you handle, and then when you go back to breaking people's kneecaps for the fun of it, we're gonna put you back in timeout.
Loris, you got early release. If you go back to tormenting shops, you're done.
Poor kitty.
I'm gonna throw this out there now. Next banning is gonna have something to do with Loris because he's gonna be breaking vintage again. I don't know. I think the companion change was great. I don't think it's that big of an issue for vintage.
Oh, oh. Next band's also going to include banning Uro and Legacy.
Probably, I could see that too.
All right, so now that we've kind of gone through everything, I want to just talk about this ban and restricted announcement in general. I have a couple comments.
Mm-hmm.
Comment one: oh, Goldspan Dragon's gonna get banned in standard. It's so broken. No, it's not. Get good. Figure it out.
It's not Uro.
It's not Uro. Play a counter spell.
Play a kill spell.
No. Don't play a kill spell. Kill spell's targeted. Play a saga that gets rid of it. Because that's not a spell that targets it. That's an ability of the saga that targets it.
Yeah.
Because they don't get the free mana. I've literally gone on exactly 5 mana with negate essence scatter in hand. Go Goldspan Dragon, swing, get treasure.
Yay, treasure.
And the next one, like, well, remove it. And I'm like, negate?
Lol, nice try.
Yeah.
Goldspan Dragon, you're goofy.
Yeah. Like, it's not an unbeatable card. Baneslayer Angel exists in the format, everybody.
Yeah. Yeah,
there is literal counterplay to this card. It's not that broken.
Yeah, no. This is not, or this. Goldspan Dragon is not going to get banned. Like, it's not anywhere near the power level of an Uro or a Team of Reclamation or, like, any of the other cards that were recently banned in, like, Standard. It creates a healthier format because there is ways to counteract it, and people are just going to learn to play against it. Like, it's new to the format. Like, give it some time. People are going to learn to play against it. Decks are going to be learning how to beat it. It's not going to be that big of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
We're 3 weeks in.
3 weeks in. Other things about this ban and restricted. I'm just a general big fan of this exact ban and restricted announcement. This is like the perfect ban and restricted announcement. They touch on like all the problem children that we have across all of Magic right now. Like Standard's actually in a decent spot where we're still developing our format. Modern, they're like, well, Cascade's a problem, let's fix that. Tibalt Trickery is a problem, let's get rid of that. Locking people out with land's a problem. Let's get rid of those. And they've hit this ban restricted out of the park. I think like all of Magic, all the formats are gonna like reset. Maybe Legacy a little bit less, but like they're gonna reset, rewind, and we're gonna find we're probably in a better spot.
Yeah. I mean, I've always been an advocate of if Wizards needs to do a banning, like there needs to be a reason that they do it. And this banning was they realized that some of their formats were kind of in a weird place where some decks were way too dominant, other decks were like, kind of weird combo-y that like a format couldn't react to. Some cards were too powerful, and Wizards is like, hey, you know what? We're in a weird spot right now where we're not having most of our Eternal formats being played because we don't have tournaments. Everything's kind of online. Like, Standard didn't really get hit on this one because they're able to really keep an eye on it. But they were seeing that their Eternal formats, which once Paper Magic comes back, are going to start getting played again. They were realizing that those were taking a weird turn because nothing was really happening, but things were getting added to them. So they took a hard stance against all Eternal formats and were like, hey, we're fixing these now to get prepared for when we come back. Is why I think this was such a encompassing ban and restricted announcement.
And like even like before we get back to like strictly or get back to paper Magic. Some of the ones like for historic will be fine. For things like arena, because I know people complain about every deck you play in historic's Uro, blah 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 blah. Uh, Maybe the same about Pioneer. I don't know. I don't play Pioneer, but like these newer formats that they've got, they're keeping them in check, keeping them healthy. I'm happy about that. Modern is I wish it was like I think it should be the most popular format. It's like my most favorite format besides maybe Commander. Like those are like my top two. Like I can go for some Modern, I can go for some Commander. That's where I want to jam. And so keeping Modern away from a lot of this trickery is where we want to be.
Yeah, I think that Wizards takes a stance when a format, you know, either gets too repetitive, too toxic, or too boring to be played. They want to do something to shake it up. And, like, for them right now, this is probably the first one where it was, like, getting too repetitive with, like, Modern and the Mystic Sanctuary, Field of Dead stuff, Earl, pretty much in all their decks across the formats. Like the Oko stuff, the Arkham's Astrolabe, like it was just all getting repetitive, and the formats were starting to get like into this loop where it's like either you're playing X deck, which was usually a blue green deck, or you're playing some deck that is just trying to beat that deck, and that's where things are a problem. And that's when Wizard steps in and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna do ban restricted," but on this one they're like, "Oh, all of our formats are like that. Let's fix this now."
So good on you, Wizards. Good on you.
Good job. I'm not as upset about this as I was the last one.
That one.
That one got me hot.
This one got you cool.
Oh yeah, I love this one. This is a great announcement.
Completely agree. Do you have anything else you wish to add?
Nope. Just good job, Wizards. Keep it up and keep giving us healthy formats. Like that's why people love Magic is that we can play anything we really want without having to just try and beat one deck.
Yeah. All right. Well, that sounds like that's what's new in MTG. So, quick update. I am. This is a personal one. I am 24 cards away from completing the cube. Besides then additional basic lands. 21 of those cards I'm going to be ordering proxies for. 3 of them no one just seemed to have. Or I think one of the game shops in one of the major cities lied to me because they gave me a spell pierce instead of a spell queller.
Nice.
Or they didn't give me the Vivian Monsters Advocate, even though I could literally see it in the case.
Yeah.
The other one was Grave Titan, which they were out of, and that one I understand.
Yeah, that one's a little more understandable.
Yeah, if you don't have it, you don't have it. But the other ones, if you you give me the wrong card, B, you just don't even get it for me. What the hell?
Awkward.
But I'm almost there.
You're almost there, Nate. It's almost done. Mine is nowhere near being complete.
Yeah, it's fine. So I think that's it for me for what's new with MTG. Anything new for you, CJ?
No, I mean it was just fun talking about banner restricted again and actually being happy about it.
And actually being happy about it. I think that's what on a lighthearted sentiment. I think that's where we'll end off the new stuff. So let's talk shilling and let's just talk in general. So I'm gonna start the shilling. You can find us at the 4C podcast.buzzsprout.com, facebook.com with the 4Cs podcast. We're all on Twitter. I'm at Anamark21, CJ's at _darklance_ the podcast, not podcast, is at the 4C pod. We are on iTunes, we are on Google Play Music, we are on Spotify, we are on all your places for things. All right, so now that I got some shilling out of the way, let's talk about the episode that does not exist from last week. We're sorry. We went over why, but there is something from there that we might take. So, you know how we started the trend of doing a flavor text at the beginning of every episode? Well, we decided that we were going to do a question at the end of every episode, not like just one that relates to the topic. Like, I can all ask you, like, yo, what cards were you excited to see banned? What cards were you, like, surprised that were banned? How do you think this is going to affect Magic? That's fine. But there's also a random question. I'm going to let CJ come up with this one because I came up with the one that got scrapped, and it was a really weird question.
Didn't you
I'm
ask
putting
like
you on the
what's your
spot.
favorite chili or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Do you like chili?
Yeah. Nate was coming up with a weird question. I was like, maybe.
Like what?
So I'm gonna stick to food as well, mainly because I'm gonna eat dinner after this, so I'm kind of hungry. But my wife and my daughter love to eat macaroni and cheese, and my wife swears that um, if they're in different shapes, they taste better. So she likes spirals, and I like spirals as well because it's whatever we have in our house. But she got unicorn shapes the other day, which was pretty sweet. So my question
Okay.
is just, what's your favorite macaroni and cheese shape, and do you think it tastes better?
All right, all right. I'm gonna give my answer. I definitely think they have different tastes, like slightly. Besides like normal noodle, I like shells, like macaroni shells and cheese. Those are pretty
Mmm,
good.
those are good.
Yeah.
Those are usually the homemade macaroni and cheeses.
Oh, that's also true. Yeah. I want
Nah,
mac and cheese.
now I got you hungry.
Uh, but I think that's where we're going to be ending things off here. So CJ can go get some food. I can contemplate going to get food, and we can move on with what else we need to do. Uh, Keep a lookout for possibility of us being on YouTube in the coming up. And I am going to keep pushing myself to think about it, and maybe we'll look at doing something like a Friday night stream, maybe like an FNM on Arena, something like maybe building like a standard deck and going through like an event or doing a draft where it's just us two chilling in like a Discord call talking if we have time or one of us.
Nate's gonna be
We've
Twitch
created a
streaming.
joint Arena account for this purpose so that way we can play. Twitch streaming, yes. There will still not be any face cam because I just don't have one and you don't need to see my ugly face.
I broke my webcam when I
With
was trying to
that
fix
being
my
said, my
computer,
name's.
so
I mean, it cracked trying to look at you.
yes.
Ah, yes. So I have been Nate. I have been the competitively casual player.
And I've been CJ. I'm the casually competitive player, and we'll see you all in the next episode. See ya.